Good morning, it's Jane. Got a bit of a cold today, but I thought we would sit and chat while I work on my Tunisian scarf here with the moss stitch. So how is everybody's week going? Mine was going pretty good until I got up with this, I expected it because working with the kids in Awana, many times you get whatever they're bringing around. So, of course, with kids the first part of school, thing that happens is they all get sick. So, of course, I caught whatever they're passing around. I was more than happy to do that. So that's just part of life, I guess. Well, the seasons are upon us. It's getting cold. I saw last night there was a warning, supposedly not far from me, that there would be snow showers. And that caused me a little bit of angst, thinking about snow coming already. I'm just not ready for the snow. It's beautiful, but man, it makes it so hard to get out and do the things that you normally do on any given day because of it. So yeah. The cats, I've been laughing at the cats because, with the way that the sunshine comes in the window, they get these little paths of light through the blinds. And of course, with the clouds and everything coming across it, it moves, and the cats think it's kind of like a laser. So they're out chasing it in the hallways and things. And here, they just crack me up when they do that. Because they look funny. They stop and look and take off running after the shadows. See how that sun's coming in, casting a crazy cast on this? I'm telling you, it's crazy. Anyway. So the cats have been playing that way. And it's been rather funny to watch them do what they've been doing. Just because the way that they're behaving. So yeah. We had our church does a luncheon each month. Well, they don't do it during Christmas and Thanksgiving, but they do it the rest of the time usually. And it's a really nice time to get together and to get to know one another. And we had a couple that was from Florida. They had moved to Florida recently. And where they were at, their house didn't sustain damage from the winds and everything with the hurricane and whatnot. But it's underwater. Well, I'd say it's up to, I think she said it's up to 4 feet underwater. And she said when they were purchasing the home, they were told that it could withstand hurricanes. But as she said, they didn't bother to tell us about the issue with the water. So they've come back to Pennsylvania. They're staying with different family members, trying to find a place to rent while their kids are cleaning out their house, and they're an elderly couple. So while the kids are, trying to clean out the house and salvage what they can, and then they'll move back once they find a different place. So it was pretty interesting to see the pictures that they had of their home where they were at and what it looks like now. And she is a crafter. She's upset because all of her crafting supplies are completely ruined. So she'll have to start over. She's not looking forward to that. And I can understand that. That's pretty a pretty hard pill to have to swallow. Losing all your crafting supplies. I can't imagine what just the loss of a house would do. But, many of us, we use our craft as a way to soothe us and calm us. So right now she doesn't even have that. But, yeah, just crazy situation. You just have to do what you can do. Take care of things best you can, right? No other way. We, at our church on this Sunday, we do what we call is a mission Sunday, which highlights some of the different missions around the world, some of the different missionaries. And basically what it is after church, each station sets up a sample of the food that you would get in that area. And then there's a station for you to send cards to the missionaries that you have for your church. And also a station for you to stop and say a couple of prayers for those missionaries. And they only allot like 30 minutes for you to go through all these stations. And there are 14 stations. Now, they also have a scavenger hunt. And in the scavenger hunt, you have to get a signature of all 14 of those tables. Initials or whatever. In order to put your name in got quite a few nice baskets that have an array of different items from different countries. And I had told them, I said, yeah, well, last year when they did it, the problem was people were sitting and talking instead of getting their sample and moving on. You couldn't get people to sign your paper. So are they going to fix that this time? Or are they going to keep doing that same old thing? Because now you've got 2 more added stations. How are you going to get through that? Maybe they need to consider a different time frame. So, I don't know. We'll see. And before, what they've had is, different drinks or different foods, meals, those kind of things. And it's always a lot of fun. Just to see the way that they've decorated the tables up, that kind of thing. But, yeah, it's hard to get through that scavenger hunt. Extremely difficult. But it is fun. The kids enjoy it, getting to go from station to station. And I think we had one family one time that did the lumpias. But what they did, instead of cutting them in half, or making them smaller, they were giving you a whole one. And we were like, you might want to consider cutting that in half so you're not getting a whole one. Goes a little further, that way you're not stretching too far. But it should be interesting. And of course the kids are running to and fro trying to get everything so they can get their names on that scavenger hunt. It is fun. I don't really care for the weather turning as cold as it is. I mean, it's those days where you start out at 34 degrees, and then by the end of the day, you're at 65 or 70. That's hard on your body. And especially hard on mine these days. My body just can't handle that kind of stuff. So, but we're used to these normal weather changes, and seasons come and go. Just like the troubles of life, don't they? They come and go. Haven't heard from Billy lately. Of course, I haven't checked to see if she put a video out yesterday. I know she said she'd done the one video after Milton, letting us know that her and Abby had been safe, those kind of things. I'm just curious how she's doing. Of course, I worry about her being where she's at, because the whole thing with her windows being so porous, and whole thing with the mold the last time. Of course, I don't think she actually got any water this time, other than the window. So hopefully she shouldn't have to deal with that. Because that's hard on you respiratory-wise. Not only that, but dangerous, so. And I think Lynette had said, or maybe it was Lynn Ann, had said that Boggy Creek was pretty far east, so they didn't suffer any damage whatsoever. Which is good, because, they hold those camps year-round, different times of the year. So kids are able to come in as they need to. Always have to stop and remember which row I'm on with this moss stitch. It's not always easy. Whoops. Didn't go in the right way. It's not always easy to remember that. You would think it would be, but a little more difficult than what you think. There hadn't been a whole lot going on in my neighborhood. They have the normal trunk or treats. And I can remember, I think trunk or treats really started coming about probably the 80s. I know there was a period there where we always had to worry about razor blades in the candy or, in an apple or whatever. So lots of times the hospital would offer up their x-ray machines so that you didn't have to worry about those kind of things. I don't know that they're still doing that kind of stuff because nowadays they kind of frown on you going, from house to house. And a lot of people don't set up their houses for trick-or-treaters anymore anyway. Our town does a Halloween parade. And then they do the merchants downtown give away candy. And usually different weekends, I think like this weekend, different churches do their trunk or treats, which a lot of parents bring too because it's a little safer. We generally fill little bags with the different candy. They come in and, they go from trunk to trunk and they kind of receive a little bit of message of gospel throughout that whole thing. And different people tell them about different stories of the Bible. And then they get their candy and move on to the next station. And of course, they always tell them about Awana, so they could come in and, if they wanted to come in for Awana, they could come in for that. And I think most churches basically do the same thing. It's just families feel a little bit safer. Probably a good idea. And I know at the times that Thomas and I would get out candy, buy candy for the kids. We never had a single person come to the door. And the times that we didn't buy any candy, we had people coming to the door. So we learned pretty quickly that it wasn't worth getting big bags of candy because we would be handing it out maybe once, and most times since no one came, then the two of us would be eating the candy. So it was never a good deal for us. So we always try to avoid that. And of course up here, there's only a couple of kids, maybe 4 or 5 of those kids. And they all go to their churches for their different activities. So that's probably a good idea, Did this row wrong. Yapping at you and forgot. So, yeah, I no longer get candy. We stopped getting the candy because we wouldn't have but one person show up. And, we just never bothered after that. I have sometimes helped with the church with the trunk or treat. And mainly in the realm of making sure that all the trunks had enough candy. Because we kind of divided it out. You can decorate your trunk the way that you want it. And then you would just hand out the candy, according to whatever your trunk was doing. And generally we had extra bags of candy that the church donates. We do that every year. We donate just bags and bags of candy so that it's there, it's ready to do. We do the same thing at Easter. When they come out for the Easter thing. So, you'd be surprised how many times you have to run candy to a certain trunk. Because kids keep coming to the one trunk. They wouldn't always go to some of the other ones. Either they were a little too scared of what was at the other trunk, or who knows. They didn't find the car attractive. But it's always kind of fun to see. The kids in the costume is the best part. Getting to see their different costumes. And some of these parents go all out. I can remember my boys going out trick-or-treating as teenagers. And they would simply take a bandana, tie it around their face like they were a bandit, and go house to house getting candy. Now, they didn't use bags, and they didn't use whatever. What they used were pillow sheets to gather their candy. And I would take the younger two out, trick-or-treating. And they'd come home with, half a bag full of candy. The boys would come home with these big, huge pillow cases full of candy. Of course, the boys were good about sharing with their brother and sister, so that was a good thing. But I used to be like, how did you get to so many houses? Well, we just run from one house to the other. Okay. Glad to know that. But yeah, my boys they were kind of characters when it came to Halloween trick-or-treating. Scarf has come along nicely. Just got to remember which one I'm doing, which row I'm at, that kind of thing. That's the hardest part to remember. And of course, you got to read the pattern, read your stitches. And I can tell you this, even for somebody who has done this many times over, I can still get confused easily. And I have gotten confused easily. So what are you guys working on today? You still working on your same things? And how are you doing today? I had a young lady who had mentioned she enjoyed the talk that I had with her here on the channel. She was a new subscriber, so welcome. And I don't always remember to welcome all of my subscribers. I am exceptionally glad that all of you are here. I do enjoy seeing what you comment about, and even comments on what I said. If I've said something political that you disagree with, by all means, tell me your side of the story. That is just the way that I was raised. I was raised where we understood that people had differences of opinions. It was no big deal. You would listen to their side, and maybe they could sway you. Maybe not. But you were open enough to be willing to listen to what they had to say. And I think that's good in any relationship, is being able to talk to one another without letting your emotions get the best of you. And for some reason with politics, a lot of people get emotion in there. And I find that sad. Because so many people get caught up in it with emotional issues. instead of really looking at what's what. But we're here to listen to one another, to communicate with one another. So we shouldn't be afraid to hear their side or their opinion, even if it differs with ours. But I find a lot of people aren't that willing today. I'd lost quite a bit of subscribers one year, 2016, when I walked away from Ravelry because of the whole issue with Casey and his, shall we say, trunk derangement syndrome. I had issues with it because of some of the things that they had said and they were following. The gamers supposedly research was which was all proven false. And Casey had done this. He was one of the owners. Him and his wife were the owner. Of course, I think he's now transgender. I don't know if he's transitioned or not, since I'm not on Ravelry anymore. But he had always given conservatives a hard time on that platform. Always. He would dock their accounts, block them, take down their groups, those kind of things. There was no safe space for anybody who was conservative on Ravelry. Now, I know a lot of people kind of moved things off of there because of it. And as a result, Ribbler came about. Ribbler is a good place to get patterns now as well. And I haven't heard of any, political bias or whatever there. So, hopefully it's a good place for a lot of folks. And I understand a lot of people still keep Ravelry. But, I chose to walk away from it because of that whole thing. It just was difficult to deal with. And too many times I had people ripping off patterns that I had written and had put up there for free or even, for like $2. And which I never saw any of the money come in from that either. But that's neither here nor there. But when I would bring that to their attention, they totally ignored that. And I found that somewhat upsetting because the whole idea that I'd worked hard on quite a few of these patterns and that they were being ripped off left and right. So, and they just never chose to back you up as a creator there at that time. I don't know if they are now. I do know that during that period they were not. They were just kind of blowing it off. That's your issue, not mine. And they could have stopped it. They certainly could have stopped it. They could have given that person who was stealing those. And it was clear that they were stealing it. I mean, I'd put watermarks on my patterns. They were stealing left and right. Pictures, same thing. So I kind of walked away from Ravelry for a lot of reasons, and that was one of them. But boy, talk about an uproar. People got crazy. That's all I can say. People got crazy during that time. And I do mean nutso. They went off the deep end for quite some time. And that was kind of scary. But, you know, things happen. And out of that whole thing, I had quite a few people try to take me down, even as a person with patterns, whatnot. Tried to take my Facebook group down, saying I had stated that anyone could share any patterns, the full person's patterns, if they wanted to on my Facebook group. And that's not what I said. I basically told folks that they were free to share pattern links to different patterns that they were doing, that they found interesting, paid or free. But the only patterns that I put up there on my Facebook group are 2 of my patterns. I didn't put all of my patterns up. I just put 2 of them up. So, yeah. Find it funny how people will twist things, you know, as they go. And for no other reason than just blind allegiance. And that's kind of scary, because when we find out the truth, sometimes we're let down in a big way. You know, and then we have to deal with that letdown. So, yeah, it was kind of interesting. And I always find it funny, you know, opinions are like buttholes. We all got one. So I don't know why we worry about it. You know, we're all going to have different opinions. So let's just deal with each other and love each other, regardless. And don't let those elephants and those donkeys drive a wedge between us, because that's what they're good at. They're absolutely wonderful at that. But I do wish we used to have laws in place. Trying to think of the name of the law. But we used to have laws in place where the media could not lie to us. They had to tell the truth. And back in 2013, sorry about that, the battery died. Not the battery, but the camera shut off because it'd gone too long. And back in, as I was saying, back in 2013, President Obama had that law overturned. And at that time, our news agencies were not allowed to lie to us. They had to tell us the truth. There was no distortion of, you know, the way they do, just a snippet here, a snippet there. Now they blatantly lie about candidates. There was a law that they couldn't do that. They actually had to tell you the truth of what was going on. Well, in 2013, Obama had gotten that law overturned to where it's no longer in effect. And I think the law is called Smith-Mundt Act. And it was basically, if I remember correctly, it was passed shortly after the whole thing with Hitler, when Hitler was coming across, because we had a certain playwright who's well known. I'm not going to say his name, but he advocated for what Hitler was saying about gassing Jews. So, and they were, the papers, New York Times, New York Post, were putting his propaganda into place. So, you know, that propaganda and the propaganda against Jews at the time. So they put that act into place so that newspapers couldn't do propaganda, or what I grew up being told was yellow journalism. They couldn't sway you towards their opinion. or their line of thought, because that would be illegal. So anyway, it got overturned, and we've seen a lot more of these news agencies. They'll give you one snippet of, just a portion of what a candidate said to make him look bad, and then a portion of what the other candidate said to make them look good. We see that all the time, and unless you are listening completely to what each candidate is saying, you're not going to get the true story from your newspapers, from media whatsoever. And then, of course, this whole thing with Zuckerberg, coming forward and saying that he was coerced by the White House, to withhold a lot of things and to basically censor people. So it happens, folks. And unfortunately, in this day and time, we see much more of it, left and right, all the time. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but not a whole lot we can do about it, but deal with it and try to dig in and find out the facts, what is real, what is not. I already did this row. Starting off the row wrong, folks. It happens. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find out what's going on with these candidates if all you're doing is listening to the news, either radio or television, and not actually checking out what these candidates are saying at their different rallies and whatnot. So we live in some pretty scary times. Times where you let someone go that's been a repeat rapist and, hopes that we let him out, he won't do it again. And yet they do it again, time and time again. And I found an interesting article one day, was talking about bad genes, because the media at the time was doing this whole thing about Trump saying murderers had bad genes and, whatnot. And then some of the other media was trying to say, no, that's not true. I found very, I think about 6 different studies that talked about murderers and their bad genes. It's in their genetic makeup that they are more prone to violence and to murder than the rest of us. So, I'm like, okay. So is it true or is it not true? But, you can find all kinds of studies about all kinds of things if you start searching. So, you have to be careful about things. Have to do our due homework. I'm glad that you came and you joined me. I hope you're enjoying this little bit of chat times that I've been doing with you each and every time. It gives me an opportunity to sit down and do a little bit more work on some of the things that I have here, the projects, the WIPs that I have, because I don't always get time to do that. I don't make time. It seems like the best time for me to make time is to actually sit down and talk with you during those times. So yeah, hope you enjoy this. And I hope you've gotten your project worked up a little bit further in this short amount of time. Can't stay stuck to our computers or our phones watching everybody, but I've been having fun. Been having fun watching Cheryl as she goes along with some of her projects and showing us some of the things that she's finished. I did find it rather interesting here where I'm at. I had someone She's an online friend. We haven't met yet, but she lives in Williamsport, so one of these days I hope to meet her. But she had posted today about if you make stuffed toys, small home handmade stuffed toys, there's a certain licensing that you have to get, which also includes your license number on the tag when you sell the items. And I thought, I wonder how many people here who sell different stuffies actually know that. I mean, I knew that because I researched when I went, to get my business and to get the license up for the business. So I knew that, which is one of the reasons I don't make stuffies, because I don't want to have to put that information on every tag. That's just crazy. It is your licensing number. So, yeah, find that interesting. Well, I think I have chatted on enough, even with my voice as bad as it is in this cold. So I'm going to let you go for now. I will see you again soon. In the meantime, everybody have a great week. And as always, don't let those elephants and donkeys drive a wedge between us. We're all crocheters. We have something in common. We're all knitters. We have something in common. Let's just enjoy each other's company. See you guys soon. Bye.